Hi everyone, Dr. D here. So 6 years ago today, my life changed forever. My father, my rock, my steady place, my gentle giant transitioned to heaven. So I wanted to do this special video today because it's the 6th anniversary of Reverend Robert Brown Jr.'s transition. And while I've come to honor his life and legacy with peace, the journey between grief and healing has not been linear, right? Grief rarely is. You know, people often talk about what they lose when they lose a person. And I've thought about that. The phone calls, right? The daily phone calls, the daily routine. My father used to call me and sing happy birthday, the first person every year. And yes, I lost all of that. But what I didn't expect was what I lost in my soul. What I lost in my soul. I lost the sound of his voice in my head when I was unsure. That phone call. Hey, Daddy, what's happening? Here's what I'm going through. What do you think? I lost that quiet confidence I drew from knowing he was always praying for me. No matter what, he was always praying. I lost that unique version of myself that only existed when I was his little girl, the baby. Sharon's the big sister. I was the baby. And I feel like I lost that layer of protection I didn't realize I leaned on so heavily when I needed my dad. And you know, that's what grief does. It doesn't just take away from your calendar. It doesn't just take away from the activities. It takes from your core. It takes from your core. And when we lose someone who was deeply embedded in our core, deeply embedded in our sense of identity and our sense of safety, we don't just mourn the person and their death. We mourn the parts of ourselves that went along with them, the parts of ourselves that were part of their process. And, you know, our soul can be silent when it comes to grief. We don't realize what's happening in our soul. What I lost in my soul wasn't always visible. It didn't come with tears. Sometimes it came in the pause that I would have before I made a decision, because I was no longer able to call and ask, Daddy, what do you think? Daddy, this is happening. Daddy, this is what I'm considering. Sometimes it came in that unexpected silence I would have during moments that should have felt like celebration, because he wasn't there. You know, someone important was missing. You know, didn't really think about that. Because when you're in that grief process, these are sometimes things that you don't think about. Because this kind of grief that lingers beneath the surface, it's not just what's taken from your life. You know, I feel like it's about what was shaken in your soul. What was shaken in my soul that I didn't realize was shaken in my soul. And, you know, here's the truth that I've learned to understand. Unspoken grief, hidden grief, it still speaks. It still speaks. It speaks in the things that we do. It speaks in our leadership. It speaks in our relationships. It speaks in our tears. It speaks in our fear to dream again, our fear to trust again, our fear to live again, you know. And it speaks in sometimes those things that we just don't want to do. But you know what else I've learned through this process? that God sees that hidden loss and He restores those unseen wounds, that hidden grief, if we allow Him to. Because restoration is not a myth. It's not a myth. It is a promise. It's something that can happen. And over time, God has gently tended to those hollow places in my soul. Not with instant gratification, not with instant solutions, but with this quiet strength. Not with perfection, not in the way I thought He should or what I wanted Him to do, but with His presence and being there. And as I've seen it, I've begun to give myself permission to accept it. I began to give myself permission to name it, to name what I've lost, not just the man, my dad, Reverend Robert Brown Jr., but the memories, right? The meaning and the soul ties. I've also stopped rushing to be strong. I'm saying that again in case you didn't hear it for the car. I stopped rushing to be strong, and I started allowing myself to be held. Not holding everyone else, allowing myself to be held. What did I do? I journaled, I prayed, I wept. And, I started to do these things, and little by little, my soul has begun to return to me. It started to return to me. I don't know if you see it. I see it, I feel it. Because what I thought I would never recover, that bountiful joy, what I thought grief had stolen permanently, God has begun to rebuild. And it's been hard. I've had compounded grief. Today's Daddy's 6th anniversary in heaven, but I have Mommy. I have my sister. And God's begun to rebuild this, not with duplicates or replicas of the past, but with a fresh strength, with deep faith, with a new sense of identity, with strength, with faith, with identity. Because your soul may be speaking too, like mine was. And I had to ask myself, am I listening to my soul? Are you listening to your soul if it's speaking to you? If you've experienced a loss, and I'm talking not just the loss of a loved one, but a loss of a loved one, a loss of a relationship, a loss of a role, a loss of a dream, I invite you to pause today and ask yourself this question, because I had to do it myself. What did I lose in my soul when I had that loss? What did you lose in your soul when you had that loss? Maybe it was your joy. Maybe it was your voice. Maybe it was your courage to show up. Maybe it was the ability to feel safe in your own skin, to feel safe in your own presence. What did you lose in your soul, and how can you get it back? Whatever it is, name it. Don't rush past it, because grief that's ignored becomes pain, right? It lingers, it becomes pain. But grief that's acknowledged becomes soil for strength and soil for growth. So ask yourself that question. Am I listening to my soul? What did I lose in my soul when I had that loss? And remember, I had to learn this too. You were never meant to heal alone. We need community. We need people who understand our grief, who understand our need for restoration, our need for joy. And that's what we do. That's what I do. We walk with you through this process of soul restoration. We walk with you through this process of healing. It's a journey. And I know that you can have joy in the journey if you are grieving silently while showing up for everyone else. Trust me, that was me. This is a safe space with powerful tools and powerful strategies for healing. Because I truly believe that healing is holy. Healing and joy is possible. It's promised. It's something that is promised to us. So I leave you with this. A gentle reminder and an action step. And I'm going to do it today. Take 5 minutes, just 5 minutes out of your day, and journal or reflect on this question. Okay? Journal and reflect on this question. What did I lose in my soul when I had that loss? What did I lose in my soul when I had that loss? And am I listening to my soul? Write freely. Cry if you need to. Find a safe space to do it. Then ask God, what do you want to restore in me from this loss that I lost? What do you want to restore, God? God wanted to restore my joy. But God reminded me that my story doesn't end with the loss. Your story doesn't end with the loss. There's still joy in your journey. There's still joy in your journey. And there's still strength in your soul. Even if it feels faint right now, it's still there. And you can get it. So to my father, Reverend Robert Brown Jr., on your 6th anniversary in heaven, I thank you for shaping my soul. I carry your wisdom in my spirit. I carry your laughter in my soul. I carry your legacy in every single room that I walk into. Daddy, you are truly missed. You are honored. You are so loved. And you are with me. With peace and restoration, this is Dr. D. Have a great day. Bye.